Okay, so we're going to move into lesson 4, which is our introduction to mentoring. Within this lesson, we're going to look through a number of different things. We're going to start with mentoring and what is mentoring. What is it? We're going to look a little bit at the origin of mentoring. Where did it come from? What is it in regard to its origins? We're going to look at mentoring in the Bible. We're then going to look at something which is really going to be important for those of you that are doing the assignment. We're going to be looking at the 5M mentoring model. Yeah, this is a great model. It's a really effective model that I've personally used in a number of situations throughout Southeast Asia, business. We've used it in ministry. It's a great model that was developed and is effectively the model that Jesus used when he was walking through with the disciples, although he didn't develop into a process and things, but it's been modeled off what he did. We're going to look at 3 of the things that mentors do very well, and then we're going to look at, if you're in the place where you're the one mentoring, that these are some of the things or resources that you should be looking to offer as a mentor in order to really support those that you're mentoring. Ideally, if you flip this around, if you're looking for a mentor, these are the things that you should be looking to get from a mentor or have a mentor provide to you. So what is mentoring? Well, mentoring is a mutually beneficial relationship which involves a more experienced person helping a less experienced person to achieve their goals. Now, please note that this is talking about levels of experience. This is not talking about age. This is not talking about qualification. This is talking about experience. Someone who's actually been and done something, who knows what they're talking about, and as a result is able to share their day-to-day learnings from having been applied this to someone else. Effective mentoring is a relationship that focuses on the needs of the mentee. I have been involved in mentoring relationships where the mentor designed the mentoring relationship so that they basically got all the benefit and they got free resources for things, and it's not useful. Okay, if you're going to engage in mentoring, mentoring is about building up the next generation. It's about building up others to be able to follow in your footsteps, to engage and take and do the things that you've been doing very well and be able to do those too. So the origin of mentor. In Greek mythology, mentor was basically a good friend and advisor to Odysseus, who was king of Ithaca. Now, mentor was asked by Odysseus to raise his son while he went off to fight in the Trojan War. Now, this is all the story that was recounted in the Odyssey of Homer, a very famous piece of literature. And mentor then went on to become Telemachus' teacher, coach, counselor, protector, and they built this very great relationship. There's an interesting point if you read on in the Odyssey of Homer, where after a while, as Telemachus is traveling around, it's actually the goddess of wisdom takes the form of mentor and travels around with him in guise. But that whole aspect and that kind of story whereby a mentor brings wisdom into a relationship, and that's what you're looking for in a mentor. You're looking for that experience, you're looking for that wisdom. But yes, the actual word mentor comes from a name that comes out of Greek mythology. However, the concept and everything that's been built into the mentor relationship that Telemachus experienced has been in the Bible for many years. If we look at Proverbs 13:20, it says, "He who walks with wise men will be wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm." Carries on in Proverbs, the book of wisdom. Proverbs 27:17, it says, "Iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another." This is what the mentoring is all about. It says we walk with one another, we begin to rub off on one another, we begin to engage and lift one another up. The Bible's very clear, actually. If you engage and you surround yourself with people who are wise, you will become wise. If you surround yourself with people who are fools, you will become a fool. It's quite clear that whichever way you decide to associate and move, that will drive the direction in which your life moves. So that is mentoring as it's featured in the Old Testament. But in the New Testament, in Titus 2, 3-5, it says, likewise, teach the older women to be reverent in the way they live, not to be slanderers or addicted to much wine, but to teach what is good. Then they can urge the younger women to love their husbands and children, to be self-controlled and pure, to be busy at home, to be kind, and to be subject to their husbands, so that no one will malign the word of God. In this, they're talking about the relationship where more experienced women who have been mothers, who have been wives for a long, are able to engage with the younger women and help them understand better how they can fulfill the roles that they're being called into. Yeah? So mentoring is not a male thing. It is not related to any particular sex. It, as we look at it from a Bible standpoint, would be better known as fathering or mothering. Yeah? But again, when we use terms like that, we instantly come to that age thing. Please note, it's not always about age. But when we think in terms of mentors, we tend to think in terms of older and younger, purely because older people have more experience. They've been around longer, so they've gathered more experience. And from that, they typically are the ones who have a lot of opportunity to be mentors. In 1 Peter 5, 1-3, it says, to the elders among you I appeal as a fellow elder and a witness of Christ's sufferings, who also will share in the glory to be revealed. Be shepherds of God's flock that is under your care, watching over them, not because you must, but because you are willing, as God wants you to be, not pursuing dishonest gain, but eager to serve, not lording it over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. He's talking to the elders. Now, we remember the biblical model of elders was these were people of good biblical Christian values who were sent into a town to become an example of how to walk the Christian life. They were a beachhead of the Christian presence of God into different towns and societies. So they weren't committees that decided what went on. They were individuals who were of such good standing, they carried the presence of God with them and they were sent. In this, they're basically being told, go out there, mentor people, begin to engage them, share your experience with them, so that they will begin to recognize and share in the glory that is coming. So mentoring is, throughout the Bible, as a concept. We see it. If you look at the way that Jesus went out and engaged his disciples, he spent time building relationships. And this is one of the fundamental concepts that you must remember with mentoring. Mentoring, unlike a number of different concepts, is one of the interesting ones whereby we've looked at coaching, we've been doing training and some of these other things. Most of the things that we engage with, whether it's coaching, training and things, there's an engagement which is one-on-one, some kind of relationship, but it's organized around a specific thing. And in almost all of those contexts, when the person who's being coached, who's being trained, who's being developed, comes to the end of a development phase, they go off on their own to do the thing they've been developed to do. Usually the trainer or the coach won't be there with them. They won't be alongside them as they maneuver into that journey. That just won't be part of what's going on. So the mentoring relationship is different because we actually go on the journey all the way through to see them successfully complete. Now, if we look at the 5M mentoring model, and this is developed from something that John Maxwell has been teaching on mentoring for many, many years. And the 5M mentoring model starts with 5 steps, beginning with M, funnily enough. The first one is model, and we're going to go into this in more detail. So we're going to go and talk through this model in a little bit more detail, because I think it's fundamentally important for every mentor to understand. If you choose to enter a mentoring relationship, you should choose to be in that relationship and to carry it forward right the way to where it's a sensible conclusion. Now, in the mentoring relationship, remember, unlike coaching or training, when you turn up to be trained, you don't often pick your trainer. You pick the subject you want to be trained in. Yeah? When you're a coach, you find someone who can coach you. And yes, there will sometimes be a little bit of relationship building, but mentoring is purely based on building a relationship where you begin to walk together. You begin to walk side by side. This idea of fathering and mothering, I think it's helpful in the mentoring space to talk in these terms because it starts to understand the bond that comes. So you model, you mentor, you monitor, you then motivate, and then we come to multiplication. So let's start at the beginning. Modeling. As it says, the process begins with the mentor doing the work or the ministry while the mentee watches. The mentee is an observer at this point. They're seeing something being done. The mentor says, observe, ask questions, consider how I do this. But it's really important, if you're engaging and beginning the modeling and the mentoring journey, that you make sure that the mentee is able to see everything that happens. So if I was to start mentoring someone in public speaking and sharing and training, I wouldn't start by bringing them in and getting them to sit down while I'm actually public speaking, because they've missed out on a huge chunk of the process. I would go right back to the beginning, which is my engagement at the point where I'm asked to speak. Okay? Then from there, I would take them through the process of what I do to make sure that I'm ready, that I've prepared what I'm going to say, that I've prepared slides, that I've engaged, that all the different things that I'm doing, I would take them through the whole process, how I create my notes, how I engage to do all those types of things. So that as we go through the process, we'll find that they'll see the whole thing evolve from start to finish. And they won't just come in at halfway through and go, right, where are we? What's happening here? The mentee really gets to look behind the curtains, as you were, if you think of that in regard to the mentor's life. It really does require the mentor to be open and honest, to be willing to share, to being willing to let the mentee in, to be a part of their life and walk with them in that space. So when you've modeled it, when the mentee has seen what's going on, you then come into the mentor stage as it's described. And this is really where the mentor brings the mentee alongside. They're no longer an observer of the process. They're now alongside, and they're becoming a part of the process. Now that could be in a simple way. It could be helping set up PowerPoints. It could be making sure that there's water, there's drinks. It could be in what is perceived initially as a menial task sometimes by the mentee. But the important thing is about helping the mentee understand some of the detail that goes on and involving them in some of the basic tasks that they can within the process. This will allow them to see even more detail of what goes on. During this part of the process, there will be a lot of communication. There's going to be a lot of conversation. Encourage the mentee to ask questions, lots of questions, and explain to them why you're doing things, how they're doing, and when they should be done, okay? So you want to be able to go through all of these things to really help the mentee come to a point where they fully engage and they fully understand everything that's going on in this mentoring, in this current process that they're being mentored in. When you finish the mentoring component of it as part of the overall mentoring model, you then move into monitor. Now, this is an interesting place where the roles begin to shift slightly. And this is the uncomfortable bit, especially for mentors. Because as a mentor, when you're mentoring someone, you're doing it because you generally recognize as being good at something. Yeah? This shift in roles starts to take place because the mentee starts taking over some of the key roles. Now, a mentee, they're doing it, they're learning it, they're adapting it, there'll be their own quirks and styles. They will, if you're doing things right, they will start to do things slightly differently than the mentor does it. That's okay. That's ideally what you want. At the end of the day, every mentor out there should be trying to see the people they're mentoring go further and be better than they are. Yeah, each one should be lifting the next generation higher. That's our objective. That's what we want to see. It should be our passion. So there should come a time where the mentee takes the front stage. One of the guys that I've been mentoring, he's going to be stepping up and doing a lot of the speaking at the next business ministry meeting we've got. I'm just going to be standing in the background making sure that he's okay, because it's trying to develop and get these people to do the things. I don't want to have to do everything all the time, but I want to see these people develop up to a place where they can do all these things, and then they can propagate, engage, and carry on. So, the mentee takes over performing the task with the mentor alongside. At this point in time, the mentor is a safety blanket, if you like. They're there to guide, they're there to prompt. If there's something that's been missed, they can point it out. But the whole objective of this phase from a mentor point of view is not to point out where they're doing it differently to you. It's to point out and encourage and engage them so that they can begin to really make this their own. If they do public speaking, they will do it differently. If they're engaging in any task, they will have their own quirk on how they do it. You should be helping them. When they do make mistakes, and mistakes will occur, mentors need to be able to say, yeah, okay, well, this didn't happen this way. You may use a coaching style to help them look and reflect themselves in that space. But help encourage them and point out what they did really well so that they get a boost and go, yeah, I didn't do everything right, but I did enough right to give me the confidence to try it again and go again. And you know, with every time that we do something, we get better and better and better. I've got a good friend who says nobody goes backwards with encouragement. And it's really true. If you encourage someone, they're constantly going to get better. They're going to go forward. They're going to get stronger. They're going to get better. That's what we're mentoring people for. So the more you can lay on, the better. Next, we come to the motivate. Now, this is really where the mentor starts taking an even bigger step backwards, okay? The mentee is taking the forefront. They can effectively now do the task on their own. They don't actually need the mentee there, the mentor there, sorry. The mentor can step back, but the mentor should want to engage, to be a part of what the mentee is doing, to be able to applaud them, to cheer them on, to engage them. They still want to be encouraging them, yeah? The mentor is still there to give continuous feedback, to get them going, to inspire them to carry on. The mentor will then encourage even those under them with new responsibilities, new improvements. Now, it's really important, and this is where a lot of mentoring falters, I suppose, is the right word. The mentor should not just back off at this point. They should be there to support and engage and help the mentee really begin to flourish and get into that successful place. That's the objective of the mentoring. At this point, you're coming to the end of the first major phase where the mentee doesn't actually need the mentor, but the mentor can still provide value and assistance in this space, okay? Then we come to the really, really rewarding space for any mentor. And I can only imagine when we start thinking, because as you walk through this, you can kind of see the passage that Jesus went when he took the disciples. Pardon me. He went out, he modeled the behavior that they were supposed to do. He took them with him. Yeah? He took the disciples with him as he went out and did things. He involved them. They began to see what was happening. He took them out and he prayed with them, and they let them see everything that was going on. He then got to the place where he sent them to do bits and pieces while he stepped back a little bit, and he was there to question them and ask them and direct them back on path. And then came the time where he stepped back completely and said, I'm going to be around to help you when you need it, but I'm going to come in a different form. Yet it's now time for you to go out and do this. And this was a time where the disciples had to move in to multiply. Yeah? And multiplication is where the mentee starts to become a mentor and starts to build the next generation. This is where it becomes really exciting. It's multiplication. The Bible talks about multiplication. We're supposed to deal in multiples. We're supposed to operate in multiples. In this space, this is where it really, really takes off. As it says, once the mentee does the job well, the last step is for the mentee to become a mentor. That should always be the end goal. That if you've benefited from somebody pouring of their life and their experience into you, you should be willing to pour of your life and your experience into them. The mentor would now go on to mentor somebody else. But the beautiful thing, and this is why it's so good and why mentoring is so different to the other types. When you're training, you train somebody until they finish the education that you need to provide, then they move on. When you're a coach, you coach someone till they've achieved what they wanted to achieve. When you're a mentor, when you get to the end of where somebody doesn't need you to mentor them anymore, you've got such a relationship with these people that the relationship carries on, that you continue to be a fundamental component in their life because you want to spend time together, not because you're trying to achieve something out of it. So, 3 things. Again, this is some of the John Maxwell. John Maxwell speaks a lot on mentorship. It's a fundamental key component that he's very positive on. He's got a great book called Mentoring 101, if you're familiar with that. It's a great series. John Maxwell says that mentors do 3 things. First, they know the way. As I've said before, mentors have experience. They are people who know exactly what they're talking about. You go to them because they're going to share their experience with you. They know the way, they know where you're going, they know where you want to go, they know some of the hurdles that lie down the way, they go to some of the obstacles that lay in the path. Then they show the way. They're prepared to not just talk about what they know and how they know it, but they're also prepared to show you how you can do it. Oh, thank you. Okay? So they show the way by generously applying their insight and wisdom to your specific situation. A good mentor will come alongside you and say, in your situation, here's what I would do in that situation. Here's how I would maneuver through that situation. They're prepared to show you the way through that based on their knowledge and understanding. The third thing they do is they go the way. A mentor doesn't just go, I know everything, I know how you should do it, now off you go. They actually travel with you. They come and they walk alongside you. If you're engaging in things, they'll come and they'll be a part of those things that are going on. They'll support you, they'll uplift you, they'll engage. They'll want to see your success in a major way. They'll want to see you thrive and grow and develop. They'll want to see everything you're laying your hand to succeed. And they'll take great pleasure in seeing that, just as a parent does with a child. And this is why I constantly come back to the fathering and the mothering in relationship to the mentoring. And it's an interesting thing, especially as a topic across the church, is where have all the fathers gone? Yeah, this mentoring relationship. So what are some of the resources that a mentor can and should offer? Well, the first is accountability. They want to be offering accountability in preparation, and in this relationship, if you're a mentee and you're engaging a mentor, and I encourage you, if you don't, you should go and get one, because every one of us can develop in some way and we should constantly be challenging ourselves. Give your mentor permission to ask you tough questions, to challenge you. Allow them to keep you committed to what you're doing. Likewise, if you're mentoring, engage with your mentee and say, please give me permission to ask you tough questions, to challenge you, to help you move in the right direction. But it's not just about challenge and things, it's about affirmation, encouragement. As I said, no one goes backwards with encouragement. Constant words of encouragement, support, encourage and affirm their strength, build them up, help them be the best that they can be. Assessment, help them, and this could be through application of coaching and some of the things that we've talked about in some of the other lessons. Help them understand and be objectively assessing where they're actually at, what they're actually doing well, what they maybe need opportunities for further improvement. Help them gain some real perspective so they're on tune and they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Acceptance. Provide unconditional love and grace to them even when they fail. We all fail. When we fail, we don't need to be reminded that we failed. What we need is somebody to come along and go, so you failed, what are you going to do next time so that you don't? How do we help you walk again? How do we help you get back on track and make it on the direction that you're going in? How do we help you improve from there and come back even better than you did before? Advice. Now, unlike coaching we're not supposed to advise and tell them what to do, but mentoring, that's what the whole thing's about. You're about advising these people. You're about sharing your experience and pouring into them whatever's inside you. So do speak wise words of counsel, give them options for decisions, help encourage them, inspire them, engage them so that they can think beyond what their current level is, so that they can engage with where they want to be. Admonition. Offer words of caution. Any one of us who's traveled a journey before will know the dangerous pitfalls that may fall along the way. Encourage them and support them, but also warn them of the things that may be pitfalls that they could fall into. You ideally, as a mentor, want to help them get ahead so that they don't have to go through all the stuff that you went through. You want to help them be in a place where they can grow beyond your mistakes. And the last two are assets. Give tangible gifts and resources. Every person I've ever mentored, in fact, most of the people that have ever been in a team with me, I have given books, videos. Don't overestimate, it says tapes here, it's a little bit out of date. It should be kind of CDs or podcasts. You know, there's all these things that we can share. Personal contacts, never underestimate. If you're an expert and you're experienced in a certain area, never underestimate the value of the number of people in that area that you've met along the journey. Because people are one of the greatest resources. There's a saying, it was actually a quote, that said, you will be the same as you are today in 5 years, except for the books you read and the people you meet. So help them, engage them. If you meet with people, and I'm always giving books away, and I'm always buying more books, but introduce people to people. Give them books, stimulate them, encourage them. You want to see people grow and develop. I want to see people grow and develop. I don't always know where they're going to grow and develop, where they're going to end up, but I just love seeing people develop and become more than they are. An application. Help them figure out how they can start to apply everything they've learned. Take them into scenarios, provide opportunities for them to apply the knowledge they've gained. If you've been teaching them, if you've been educating them, sharing experience, give them opportunities to stand up and be able to use that so that they can begin to minister in things. That's the ideal scenario, because it's only through application of these things that people are going to become experts themselves and then be able to share their experience with others. Okay? Most of us, whilst we take in information by listening and seeing and hearing, it's only in the actual doing that we really go from information to revelation, that we really get to the point where we fully understand what it is we're talking about. So I encourage you, provide opportunities so that people can learn and develop and apply as they go. And that is our introduction to mentoring.